Coming up, what to make of the bumbling in Buenos Aires. We examine the shock loss. We want your say on the All Blacks' performance. It's your chance to drive our conversation. South Africa bounced back in Cape Town, so what does it mean for the Eden Park test? And Taylor Curtis joins us live from York with the Black Ferns World Cup opener just a few hours away.
Yeah, looking forward to what the Black Ferns are going to do in their first game against Spain, but we need to talk about the Rugby Championship because it has never been more even in terms of 4 games. We've had 2 rounds, and guess what? It's all tied up. It is even in regards to the fact the 4 sides, they've all had a win, and we would never have thought that given teams have been touring away from home. The fact Australia have gone to South Africa, the All Blacks have gone to Argentina, and Argentina, they created history by winning at home against the All Blacks for the very first time. So this competition, very much like Mills said about the NPC, is well and truly in the balance. So there are areas we want you to get involved in straight away. The poll for us tonight, the very first poll, is talking about what worries you most about the All Blacks right now. Whether it's selections, is it tactics, is it skill levels, leaderships or discipline? So we want your thoughts. Send your questions in. Gentlemen, we're going to start with selections though, because I'm going to go on to a comment already. Sam sent this through. Jordie Barrett's our toughest back by far. He puts his body on the line. He's great in the air. He's 6'5", takes the high ball. Played well at fullback for the All Blacks. Do we start thinking about moving players around? We love specialists. He's been our specialist 12 for a couple of years now. Is it time for a change?
I don't feel that they'll change Jordie Barrett. That's not to say that that's not a good idea. But I just feel that they have revolved the back line around him. He's the one consistency really there, even compared to his brother inside him, you know?
Yep.
Like Bowden's not got the starts. He's been in and out. But Jordie's the one reliant person that they've been persevering with in that jersey. They know what they can get out of him. Like, we've just got to fix our aerial problems with the players that regularly play on the wing.
So who are they? If we're not shifting Jordie Barrett, does it fall straight back onto Rieko Ioane and Sevu Reece to support Will Jordan? Or is there an option to bring Damien McKenzie back into a starting role at fullback, or Beauden Barrett? Are we messing with things that we've set ourselves on already this season, Mills?
Well, I think that would probably be an easy fix because of the way they sort of didn't win the aerial battle today in Argentina. But you'd have to say there's more to the winning the aerial game than just catching the high ball. I mean, Will Jordan was isolated a lot, but you know, the Argentinians put a lot of pressure on our kickers, you know, right through when they slowed it right down. And that's what you've got to do. I'm a little bit perplexed about our kicking strategy. It almost seems like that we are wanting to sort of kick down there and almost sort of back our defence or even hope. And that's where I think the aerial game will come back into it. You've got to actually put pressure on the kickers. You've got to set it up so that there's a result from that, rather than just hanging it on a guy to catch the ball. I know it sounds simplistic that you just got to go up and jump, but it's not.
Well, me and Millsy probably still have nightmares from 2 back-to-back tests in South Africa, where I think it was the first time that we ever got exposed hugely by contestable kicks, and we were literally sitting under there.
Speak for yourself, mate.
Oh. Well, he was yelling out yours to me. He was yelling out yours.
Everyone's saying yours.
And we went away, and obviously that's when getting up high, the blocking, the kick pressure that Millsy's talking about, it's not just a case of sitting under a high ball and catching a high ball. There is so much that goes into it. And you look at it, when a 50-50 contest with 2 guys up in the air, of course it could go either way, but there's so much more. Like, how many guys we actually got around the ball? I know you can't block like you used to, but you've got to get guys around there in those positions behind and all that.
Are we in a position, though, where you'll start going, you know what, we've got South Africa in 2 weeks' time. Am I going to play a Leroy Carter or a Moni Narawa in that test match? You feel as though there's a sense, or are they going to go and stay faithful to the players they've given an opportunity? I'll just say this. There's a number of guys, there's 13 players out of this group who played against Argentina in a World Cup year and comprehensively beat them and did it comfortably.
Yeah.
Where are we in terms of a group compared to we were a couple of years ago?
We're just off in that strategy. And for some reason or another, we're just struggling with that back 3 as a combination to work together. You can't leave a guy isolated like they're leaving Will Jordan isolated today. How many times did you see Rieko Ioane or Sevu Reece go up and command the air? Just didn't happen, did it? And it's not about, I get the question, but it's not about being a big body. If you want to watch somebody get under the high ball, check out Cheslin Colby.
Yeah.
Like, that guy's incredible. And diminutive by stature, but brave. He gets in the air, he's got great leap. So it's not about putting a big body there. When you look at what we're doing here in terms of pressure that Argentina are applying to us just through good, accurate kicking. And you can see here, Jordan is coming from so far back. But don't you agree? Like, it's just that a back three combination, you guys have all played in the backfield, work together, help each other, support each other, communicate. Your ball, you know?
Yep.
I've got the
own that
support.
space, right. You've got to own that space. And a lot of their kicks were short, and Will Jordan was having to travel a long way to get that. A question here from Neil Chapman. Stop the silly halfback kick and hope, hang on to the ball. You guys mentioned there was an element of frustration when all of a sudden, and you've mentioned it a lot this season already, Justin, the fact that the accuracy of the kick is so critical in terms of being able to contest possession. That's what we felt in terms of pressure. Are we not doing a good enough job of putting the ball in the right spaces for us to get possession back?
I just don't know what we're trying to achieve. I mean, when you're going into a kicking strategy, you're either going to go long or you're backing yourself. What do we want out of it? What's the worst that we can get out of a kicking strategy? At the moment, it just sort of seems like with box kicking, it's fairly well in field. And I looked at the Australian side of it when McDermott started doing it. It was like 1.5 metres from the sideline, but that gives guys an opportunity to actually barrel them out into touch. There's a result. I just feel right now we're just trying to relieve that pressure initially because we're in our own half, but we're belting it down there for them to come back and then actually attack us in our own half, which adds more pressure. Then penalties, then discipline. We're down at the other end, points.
Yeah, what I want to do is I want to bring you the stats from this game this morning because it paints a really clear picture, Justin, of exactly how this game was played out and areas that the All Blacks fell short in.
Yeah, it certainly does. And when you look at those stats, far from flattering for the All Blacks. And look, it's very evident that we lost the territory in possession. That goes without any debate whatsoever. But it's the other ones that have a snap-on effect to that of not controlling certain elements of the game, like the air. Not like having the ball. If you've got control of the ball, you're not making as many tackles. Like when you think that the All Blacks, out of 187 tackles, fell off 40, you know, and you look at the carry meters, you know, all of that within the game plan snowballs on you, and that's what creates pressure, and they're creating that pressure on themselves. Not so much what Argentina are doing. They're creating that pressure on themselves because tactically they're just a little off at the moment.
Beaver, we got a sense last week the All Blacks were playing to their strengths. So I've got a question from Robbie here saying, why are we going away from a line-out maul after last week? That scrum late in the game wasted time. In fact, we had an opportunity to go to a line-out and we chose a midfield scrum when we got 3 line-out more tries. I mean, once again, does that come back to Mills's point, is the fact that just a little bit of lack of clarity about what's going to generate our points?
Yeah, well, I think when you look at last week compared to this week, our line-out wasn't quite functioning. I mean, we all saw the clip at the end where we had a no jump and a ball going in and balking. That one was a surprise there at the end because it had been a go too. But then again too, Argentina threw a different picture at us this week. Last week they were competing and we were winning the ball and just driving over from 5 out. This week, stayed on the ground, really went after it from a defensive more point of view. So was there a plan B on it? We were expecting that. That's the sort of thing I guess they'll go away and have a look at.
Was that the story when you watched the game? Did you feel as though the All Blacks at no point were in control of that contest?
I thought there was elements that they were in control. Like when we got our hands on the ball, we were building pressure early in that first half before the yellow cards. There was some really nice stuff they were actually doing. They were winning that sort of contact area, but when you start giving away penalties, 2 guys in the bin, your aerial game's not sort of functioning, that just adds that pressure you're talking about. I mean, you just said carry meters. I mean, Argentinians are like over 1,000. We're only like 400 or 500. So that's telling you a story right there. We have not got the ball. When we do have the ball in our hands, in their half, I think there's some things to like there. We just didn't have enough.
The Fletcher Newell try was beautifully structured. The way they got over the advantage line and then it was Artie Saab picked it up and let it go. This is a great question. Why are our ABs, this is Brad from Wellington, so ill-disciplined and unable to adapt to referees in recent times? Is that leadership or just player management, or is it individuals, Justin, who have to take responsibility for the decisions they make in-game which hurt your team? Because maybe some of that good stuff was done, but then on the back of 2 yellow cards, then another yellow card late, hard to win Test matches making those sort of mistakes.
Yeah, it is. I feel that a lot of it is individual and some of it's team orientated as well. Like the yellow cards that we saw in these instances were absolutely justified, you know, like there was really no need for Will Jordan to do that, to change his line, to make a shoulder. Equally, Tupuvai, when he got his hand out and slapped down a pass from Pablo Matera, nothing was happening. He's going to get bundled into touch. And then this one here as well. Like, you just don't have to reach out like that. You just sit back, drift across, cover the players that are on the outside. But putting your arm out, you're going to fall into that trap. So that's ill-discipline by individuals. And then you've got the other ones, which, again, was part of the game. Things like offsides, didn't adjust to that. Got caught, I think, 3 times, or definitely twice in the first 10 minutes. Those things hurt you.
And 33% of the people at home are thinking discipline. We're coming up against a team in South Africa who will jump on to that. And once they're going to come back, what adjustments can you make? How much of this comes back to the... And they always used to talk about the Monday to Friday, right? The Monday to Friday in terms of the preparation. Scott Robertson talked about the fact that he's the guy that sets the tone for the week in terms of their theme. Is this a case where maybe they didn't get that quite right in terms of the emotional side of going into this game? Were they not on focus, or did we take Argentina lightly, Beaver, in any way?
Well, I mean, the rest of the world's been looking forward to 2 weeks' time. And I can't imagine, you know, they're not oblivious to noise. I'm sure they prepared well, but you touched on it. That's, what, 30 minutes playing as 14 men. I know at one stage we were down to 13. You know, 3, all those in isolation, you can probably survive. I mean, the boys did brilliantly around half-time to scramble, and Bodie Barrett was everywhere defensively. But to have 3 in a game, against a top-quality opposition, you can't ignore that fact.
Were we surprised at the fact Beauden Barron was taken off? Were you surprised that he was the guy that was taken off and Damien came into 10? I thought Beauden was one of their better performed players through the course of the game, given the fact he didn't have ball to play with. He was almost on survival mode.
Yeah, it did. It's surprised I said he was pulled off so early. But I sometimes wonder, and to Marshy's point, about the individual sort of decision-making. You know, that's the stuff they're going to look at on Monday. Those 3 yellow cards, why would you put your arm out? That's kind of a 50-50. You know, you drift out, you know, Will Jordan sort of, you know, checking him. Yeah, definitely yellow. Those there come from, is there lack of trust? Is there lack of trust that the guys are going to, you know, come in? And there's elements of that, OK? You've got guys in the bin and you have to sort of adjust to that. So there's different parts of that. I think there may be a little bit of, not so much some clarity around what their defensive pattern is. And that's what's forcing some of the mistakes, some of the decisions that they're actually making on the field.
Tony, David, I've got a number of questions here talking about leadership. And that's always going to be when you lose a test match. Like it comes on to the coaching staff, it comes on to the captain, vice-captain, all of the players around you. When you look at the group, did you see anything to be concerned about? Or was this a team that didn't perform, or were there moments that the leaders could have taken control of?
Yeah, I was a little concerned that the recognition of the way that we weren't in the game wasn't recognised by the leadership group, that there needed to be an adjustment in the way that we were playing, and because we were playing into the hands of Argentina with our kicking strategy, which was off again today. I've used that word a bit, but a lot of what we were doing was off. And when I say off, it's like at test level, at that intensity, if you're slightly off, then you're behind against a side that's up, and they were up. So you've got to be really accurate, and I just didn't feel we were accurate in some of our decision-making, some of the areas that we could have applied more pressure on them, our ball carry. You know, we were very direct in the way that we played. We didn't want to try and attack the outside channels where they were hurting us. So there was no real adjustment. It's like, righto, grab the game by the scruff of the neck. Boys, this is not working.
Talking about grabbing by the scruff of the neck, have you got any boots?
Have I got any boots? I certainly have.
We're running out of halfbacks.
I've got a mouth guard right now, actually.
You got a mouth guard?
Just in case, you know.
No, you're not at this table. No. What have we got left? Who have we got left? Because Cortez Ratama, and you've suffered this, and we'll get to that in a moment, but this is the injuries at the moment. Cam Roygaard, stress fracture. Noah Hotham, ankle. Cortez Ratama, chest, which is sternum injury today. We don't know the seriousness of that from today's test match, but what are the options going forward? Finlay Christie came into this test match, having to play 60. Mills, I thought he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I thought he had.
In fact, he's been on the outer of the All Blacks since last year.
Yeah.
He had to come in and play big minutes, and he was one of our best performed, but the depth chart is low.
Well, he's always said, the 4 deep, right? And so we're there now.
We're there now, right?
And Finlay did. He had a solid performance when he came on, and he has done, you know, last week as well when he came on a bit early as well. So. But that is going to be a concern, because when you look at it, that's your connection, right? You're 9, you're 8, you're 9 and you're 10. And when you've got uncertainty in terms of who's going to end up playing there or the injury, sort of, that you lose a bit of flow in that, Beaver. You know that.
Yeah, and I mean, looking forward to 2 weeks' time, you know, that position is going to be crucial. There is going to be slow ball, Marshy, which, you know, obviously you become a decision maker. You become a massive decision maker. Their kicking game, whoever that 9 is going to be under huge pressure. And defensively, it's going to be so much around the fringes. It's going to be so competitive. Like, that's what you start to think. I mean, as you said, Finlay Christie this morning was brilliant defensively.
Sorry, but one thing you would get out of that is we haven't, because of the injury crisis as well, we haven't got a strong leader in that. You know, a leader in the 9 position where they're actually going into a strategy meeting and they're saying, hey, forget this kicking strategy, for instance, as an example. This is what we're going to try and do between myself and the 9 and the 10 and also the fullback. When you're chopping and changing and there's a little bit of that disruption, you have not got a 9 that's going to be really dominant. And 9s are dominant in those strategy meetings, you know. And this is probably where we're finding we've got a guy, and it's not Finlay's fault, that's trying to find some form, trying to play himself back into those sort of positions. You've got other guys that are fairly young that are wanting to be in that 3. That sometimes also causes a little bit of confusion because you're not quite on song with everything else. When you're the number 1, you know what you're going in there for and you're leading from the front because you're dictating what's going to happen on the field.
There's always a transition, right, when you have someone like an Aaron Smith who's played over 100 Test matches, who's been so good, who played a particular way. But Cam Roygaard was going to be that guy and we all felt that he was going to be there. His stress fracture came out of nowhere. Where do we look now, though, in terms of preparation? The fact that, was this a masterstroke of bringing in Finlay Christie? Because all of a sudden you've got a guy at least has been in some big moments, has played against the Springboks and knows what to expect. But who's the guy behind him? If Ratama is ruled out, and there's been some footage of you taking a shot on social media lately, and it sounds a similar injury, censored one. But let's talk about the fact we're talking sternum. That's not comfortable, right?
No, it's not. No, and it can involve cartilage as well. So it's a very painful injury, and you could see that even just caring for him was difficult, let alone tackling and taking contact. So, you know, it's one of those injuries that can hang around for a long time. So I believe that scans when he gets back, but say he is to be ruled out. I think I constantly bang the drum of combinations. When you've got good world-class teams who consistently win rugby games, they've got great combinations, whether it be midfield, back 3, back row, 9 and 10. And I think that's the reason that Finlay Christie was picked, because he's played so much with Bowden. It's probably the one thing that he has massively advantageous over any of the other guys because they play together at the Blues, they know each other, they know each other's idiosyncrasies within the game. And so that's probably helped him get that role when they felt that they didn't have enough depth there to trust someone, to throw someone in there like Preston.
Who's the backup then?
I would say it's Preston.
It has to be Preston because he's been with the team. I'm going to throw a random out here in Dylan Pledger to go into the squad.
Well, I'll throw a random out there too. I would say Mitchell Drummond should be close to the phone too. Yeah.
I'm going with Pledger. The fact he's playing well for Otago, he played well for the New Zealand under-20 team, he's fit, he's athletic. Look, ultimately it's going to be a challenge for whoever goes into that environment. I think this kid's a special kid. Really love the way that he plays. Now this, I'm not saying you suggest you throw him in against the Springboks. I think
this
you
is
have
NPC rugby, mate.
I get that,
you know,
100%.
He hasn't even played in his super.
Yep. So I said random.
Yeah.
I said it was random, but I'm looking at it and going, are we going to go back to a Folau Fakatava?
No.
Are we going to go to a Mitch Drummond? Or are we going to go to someone who you know, who's probably going to, I think, be conditioned to it physically, can get around the park, fundamental skills are good. That's what he's got.
Yeah, for
Massive step up. That's why we're relying on Preston, right? Is the fact we're looking at fundamentals.
Yeah, well, if you're going outside of that, on Marshy's point about combinations, Damien McKenzie's played a lot with Xavier Rowe.
Yeah.
And he has been well performed at Super Rugby. Probably had a better Super Rugby season than Cortez this year.
Yes.
So there's another one that you'd be close to a phone off.
Yeah, and he was in the conversations, wasn't he, around, for many people, around, that third halfback or fourth halfback positions.
Just won the Shield, apparently.
Geez, I tell you what, has he? Really? Well, that 4 deep thing is coming to fruition now, isn't it?
No, he wish it wasn't, but it is. What I can tell you, though, is we spent a lot of time talking about the All Blacks, but we have to give credit to the Pumas and how good they've been. Not just today, though. If you go and look at their last year, they have beaten some serious performers.
This is Molina, who pops beautifully. Oviedo try. It's a record loss for Australia.
Argentina once again with space for Ignacio Mendy. He must score from here. Massive victory against the Lions in Dublin.
takes it as well. Pass it beautifully to a scrummy, and now it's the fly-off. Santiago Carreras. What a game.
Rubiolo on the carry. Albanos to Chocobares. Malia just about gets his pass away. Beating the tackle is Carreras, who sent it wide for Matera. Matera for the line. Los Pumas are in again.
And a chance out wide. Beautiful pass to Chocobares. Now he gets his pass away. And Santi! Well, the joy is unbridled. And so it should be. That is a fully deserved win.
Beaver just said, was that last year? Yeah, it wasn't this year, that was last year. So you have to fully respect where the Pumas are at right now. Well, the pressure is well and truly going to be on for the All Blacks as they return home to take the game against the Springboks at Eden Park, with the history and everything that stadium has meant to the All Blacks in the last 20-odd years. So, question here, though, if we were in charge, what's the one or two changes we might make tomorrow? So, you think about Wallace Satiti got some time. You got Tamaiti Williams who got some time. The challenges we had on the outside, the injury to Ratama. What do you think is critical? Simon Parker got to play in a test match which didn't really fall his way. Beaver, is there one or two changes you go, you know what, I'd love to see this, or you would do?
I'm staying the same with the backs as far as injury. Like, whoever's injured and available, they play.
Yep.
But I'm going to go Wallace at 8. I just think what he can offer against South Africa, his ball carrying, his footwork around that really tight collision area, which is going to be massive against the Springboks. He has a rare ability to generate momentum from slow ball, and I think you need that against the Boks.
In some ways, is it not natural for us, the size of the forward pack we had today? The fact that Tupou Vaa'i was at blindside, we had Parker, who we know is a big athlete, but we're sort of not used to that. We've been running through the French series with Duplessis Kirifi and Adi Savia. For me, I look at those combination of the loose forward and go, is it back to Savia at 7, Satiti, and then as a Semi-Penny Finau? I mean, because are we seeing the best of Tupou Vaa'i? I mean, what changes might you make?
I wouldn't make too many. I actually quite like the one thing. There's a couple. I just feel for Rico, he just hasn't got that zing yet. You know, part of me is wanting him to get it back. The other side of it, I'm thinking far out. He's still stuck in that. You know, we spoke about it last week about centre. Whether I think he should be out there, but you know, it's at some time he's just not showing that zing that we've sort of seen as you know, world-class winger that he has been. And whether it's because he's played centre a lot, maybe a Caleb Clark coming in for that, you know, just so he can find his zap. The other side of it, I know we've spoken about it a lot, is I'd go for a 6-2 split, you know, on the bench. I think having a big body.
Have you come around? Or you?
Well, I just think
we've talked about it for weeks, but we've worn you down.
It gives you some options, right? If you've got a Parker on the bench and a Kirifi, you've got two different sort of players that that can come on. You know, to your point, if Wallace is playing there, regardless, I mean, you've got an option to go a pure feature or a big body, and I think we may need to go to that.
As Lomax, I'm not sure on Tyrell Lomax. I think he might be right for this test match, but having played no rugby, Tamaiti Williams
and Tamaiti, to be fair, looked
short of a gallop.
I was very surprised that they brought him on so early. You know, they brought him in at half time. So that just goes to show that intensity can't be replaced. It doesn't matter how many down-ups you do or 100-metre sprints. When you get into a test match at that intensity, the lungs are going to suffer.
I think they've moved on.
So Lomax, I don't think, would go straight into a starting position.
I think they've moved on from the down and ups and 150s.
Have they?
I wish they hadn't. You know, let's have a look at the poll. What have you told us? Well, you're not concerned about skill levels. Sure. You're not concerned about leadership. It's tactics and discipline. I tell you what, before we go to the break, this is the most important question. Andrew from Picton. How much is Beaver frothing for whitebait season in a week?
Yeah, it's a big week. I'm looking forward to it.
Is that your duck shooting? Or do you do both?
No, it's my duck shooting. I sort of acknowledge duck shooting very briefly for a weekend, but no, whitebaiting I'll be getting right and gold in. If you play your cards
feed
right,
the backs, mate. Feed the backs.
Play your cards right, you might get a pound or two.
He's coming back with nothing. All right, there's more for us to discuss.
You're not getting any.
I'm not getting any. Clearly, we here on the breakdown. We've got plenty to talk about after the break, particularly that performance once again from Australia, really close against South Africa.
Round 2 of Rugby Championship for 2025. Australia coming off an epic, historic win.
against South Africa at Ellis Park. Nick White quick to tap and go to put the kick in for Corey Toole, who goes over on debut. He skips out the forwards, goes to Pollard with the cross kick. And Kanan Mooney gets it on the bounce and strolls in. Williams and Smith. Quagga Smith! McDermott. Edmund and O'Connor. Kellaway is giving chase. Moody coming across. Jorgensen is in for yet another test try. Wallabies go outside the 15. Diaka trying to hold it up, and the try is scored. Back within a point with a kick to come. Given Etzebeth. Can he put an exclamation mark on the game? Trying to get back within 7 points of the Springboks, but he's not going to have enough distance on it. Full time in Cape Town. South Africa 30. Australia 22.
Springboks back to their winning ways, but it was far from comfortable. Had James O'Connor kicked a conversion with about 8 minutes to go, they would have gone 1 point ahead. And I'm not sure I expected this. I thought South Africa to be more dominant.
Yeah.
Australia clearly are a team that are going places.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, look, I felt the same. I thought there'd be a big reaction, a lot of changes. But South Africa, it was a little bit slippery, you know, there'd been some rain around. So they went back to stereotype that they know very well. You know, between the halves, 33 times they kicked the ball, 9 and 10. And they peppered Australia. And they're very good at this. They know this game very, very well. And execution, when you've got a magician like Pollard on point, it's hard to combat. But Australia stayed in the fight. And like you said, they were in it right to the very end. And they suffered massive injury issues. Like they lost Tom Wright, Nick White, say that 10 times really fast. And Sua'ali'i. They had Edmed come on and playing 12. You know, they had to massively adjust what they were doing out there, and still, with 10 minutes to go, probably should have gone ahead. So it's either, is South Africa still struggling a bit, or how good are Australia?
Well, I think it's the massive tick for Aussie, because if we'd woken up this morning and heard that the Boks had won by 30, we're like, oh, yeah. It's sort of normal practice. But they are genuinely here again. And, the Boks is an interesting one. The fact that they went back, Millsy, to absolute stereotype South African rugby.
I love it when Millsy, deep breath in, you're ready to go.
Oh, well, mate, I think it's a huge step up for Aussie. You know, some of the things that they were doing, they were taking them on in the close quarters, you know, carrying in, you know, close to the forwards, and they were actually dominating that physicality. The line-out drive, I've never seen an Australian side for years do this, you know. I mean, and then they've balanced it up with a little bit of stuff out wide, and this is tricky conditions. They're going about in a different way to get that sort of experience for some of their players, you know, in an unfortunate way because they're losing players. But it's almost, this Lions series, they've almost stepped up from a physicality point of view. That's what I've noticed.
I couldn't agree more in terms of when you watch them play now, they're staying in the fight.
Yeah.
And I start thinking about the Bledisloe Cup coming up, but just as much as the fact that I look where this team was 2 years ago, where their World Cup campaign was an absolute shambles, where they didn't pick the right players, where the coaching obviously was fractured. There's a lot of things have changed over there, Beaver, and Joe Schmidt has to take a lot of credit. Mike Cron's over there. They've got a coaching staff. I think Tom Donnelly's with them. Is he helping out there with them now?
He's coming in.
He's come in, and I think I saw him in the box set for this game. So clearly they're doing some things right, and now they've got some steel. They're impressive right now. And if you think from where Springboks were 2 years ago, where we were, and where the Wallabies are, I know who's winning that fight right now.
Well, all of that leads to confidence. That was the big thing. I think if you watched All Blacks games against them in the past, South African games, with 20 minutes to go, it was almost inevitable that the All Blacks were going to run over them because you looked at the Australians and maybe there was a lack of belief. But the Lions series, and then, I mean, there's nothing like beating the Boks in South Africa in Joburg, I would imagine, to get the believing that they can beat anyone now.
And depth. They've got more depth. I think losing that Super Rugby team, the Rebels, and strengthening the other sides, they are much more competitive in Super Rugby. Players got better because of that, because you have to fight for your jersey more. And all of a sudden, they can't get away with training averagely or playing averagely because they'd lose their spot. So all of a sudden, the players that were good test players, but, you know, just good, have now become very good Test players, and there's real competitiveness and depth there, which is great to see.
And doing it with, you wouldn't say their fourth string first five, but they were forced down James O'Connor's path, and that's why they've got to. Time for another Your Shout, though, because I'm fascinated with this. What area worries you the most going into this series with South Africa? Tight five, loose forwards, halfbacks, midfield and back three. This is for the All Blacks. So this is going to be very interesting very quickly, because clearly we've been doing some stuff really strongly up front. I'll say this, there's a number of questions here, though, and they're putting the spotlight on the coaches. The fact that, high team, with regard to the All Blacks, do you think there are maybe too many coaches in the squad and the team are getting too many mixed messages? Now, ultimately, the coaches have to prepare this team to play. Are they under pressure right now to perform? If it was a different era, how do you think we would be reacting?
Oh, look, Scott Robertson did say, didn't he, when he was interviewed so eloquently after the game, when asked, you know, why? And he said, I don't know why. He said, we knew that they were going to be passionate and emotional. We knew that they were going to come to us in the air. We knew that they were going to be tough through the middle. We were prepared for that. And then he got asked, well, why didn't it happen? And he couldn't give that answer. That's a little bit of a worry. Is that him knowing that was coming, educating his players, saying when they come at it with that, this is how we combat it, but it's not happening out in the field? Or them not preparing for that? Sounded like he was prepared for it to me. And there's nothing, you guys know this, there's nothing worse than having too many voices when you're trying to prepare for a rugby game, is there?
Yeah, you'd be staggered, Millsy, to think that this coach is jumping lanes. Because, I mean, you know, it's the professional area. They've all got their isolated areas and then obviously coming collectively. So I can't imagine that there's too many voices. I mean, often you want, you know, that feedback and those voices as a player.
You do, but not to the detriment of the team, and also what you're delivering. And that's the sort of stuff you're talking about. When we go back to the earlier points, I think there is a little bit of confusion. There's no adjustment in that, because they're possibly thinking there's too much kind of coming. Earlier on in the piece, okay, there's certainly some analysis they've done, because they went to a few trick plays thinking that the Argentinians were going to do something totally different. What worries me a little bit is they didn't adjust to what the Argentinians, because you go on with a plan. But what ifs? And what if this doesn't happen? Then you've all got to be on the same page. Yes. And that's what's missing right now. Yeah. What if everyone's what ifs are different? Yeah. And I guess that's where they're not getting the cohesion.
And that's what Dan from Hawke's Bay wants to know. What style can the All Blacks go back to? What is our style mojo? South Africa back to what works for them. Does it look as though we know right now, or are we trying to be all things to everybody? The fact that, we can take this team and we can scrum, no problem at all. And we go to a line-out drive, and the next week we decide we're not going to use that this week. We're going to use something else to try and win, which worked 7 days before. What is that style? We've been debating this. The debate for a long time was, who's our 10? Are we settled on Beauden Barrett as our best man for the job? I think so. I believe so. So what's our style of play with Beauden Barrett at first five?
Well, we've seen our style against France and Test 1, I think, against Argentina, which is high tempo, playing at pace. But you can't play at tempo, at pace, if you're not getting the ball on your terms, if you're not winning your own line-out ball and launching across gain line, if you're not taking high kicks. You know, we talked about it this morning and during the show. You've got to be able to receive kicks to then get your game going. So today, like you talk about style, we didn't have a chance to put our style there because we didn't, I guess, execute.
I'm concerned, Justin, we're not prepared to go forward like a lot of other teams are. Yep. To play a little bit deeper behind the advantage line to try and get to the edge. And you've mentioned this a lot. The one try we scored last week with Will Jordan was on a wide pass from Beauden Barrett, really deep, with an ability for him to run onto the ball. It seems as though everything that we're doing right now is about us going through the opposition. Yep. And I'm pretty sure the team we're about to play has got a lot of big bodies in the middle of the park, which will love that.
Yeah, I think we've got to the point, because we've debated it so much about blitz-style defence, that we've decided that the only way to beat it is to go direct. Yeah. And that has theory in it, you know, because, you know, if you can punch through direct and they've come up so fast from the outside, for them to get back and then blitz again, near on impossible. But you've got to get through those big bodies that you're talking about. Like, you're not going to punch through Easthuizen very well, are you?
No, we played on the loose ball.
Him.
He was on the he was played as a loose ball.
You've got to be small, Delende or Creel, like they don't miss you. But I want us to, our style, I want us to go back to having some width in our game. I don't doubt that we're to be the fittest Test side out there. We've got to start fatiguing defences. We can't play narrow and run into them and T-bone them. We've got to play that full width, attack off set piece, get it into the wide channel. You know, allow our backs to attack out there, go wide. spread the field out, spread the defence out so they're not so congested and tight. So then you've got some footwork to punch some holes. At the moment, I feel we're narrow and we're direct. Yes, there's this theory of big bodies running hard and big men doing that, but it's going away from what we're good at.
Absolutely, yeah. And the thing is, it's almost a mindset. And, you guys will know as well that you've got to actually strike to score. Yeah. You know, rather than strike, a set piece sort of strike, to actually try and set something else
build
up.
Phases.
Yeah, and build phases and then go into T-bone. There is elements, and the try that we scored today, where it was a tip on from Adi Savia to a big body to dent that sort of line, because there's space there, right? You do it like that, but not in a situation where you've got the gain line and then you're going back in there again. It just helps them recover a bit. And I just feel, to your point also, that we're just not quite getting that right. Go back to that. That's in our DNA. We want to be above the ground, right?
Yeah.
Running above the ground, fatiguing teams and scoring tries.
So the interesting part about the poll telling us that teams we're concerned about our back three, and that's clearly in relation to the high ball. But for me, it's also the creativity of our outside backs. Yeah. Now, we know what Will Jordan can do, but the ability one-on-one and create one-on-ones for our players to be able to use their footwork. At the moment, same thing. By the time it gets to our outside, it's not a one-on-one, it's a one-on-three with them coming across, you know. And to me, it doesn't seem we're using the width. And that is putting us under pressure. And without a Caleb Clark, who's used to... I can go through some people. Yeah. I think he has to come into the conversation when the people at home know what he's capable of. I think he has to be. They have to look at a change in the outsides and how they manage that, because I don't see enough attacking threat. That's just me. I mean, for you, Beaver, what is the All Blacks style that beats the Springboks?
Well, I think it's both what these two have talked about, but you also couple in with the fact of, you talk about how New Zealanders play, but also how the Wallabies went about their work, particularly in Test 1. You talk about going wide. The easiest place to go wide is in your own 30, and they were brave enough to go there because they've got guys back there, and it's not necessarily going wide to have a real crack to score, but they were going wide to kick. And then what does that do? It isolates one guy, and then all of a sudden they're going back to rucks and they're not getting their whole kicking strategy how they want to with all their forwards ready to chase. So I guess it's a little bit of bravery, but it's nothing that our boys can't do. I mean, between Geordie at 12, great midfield passer. He can get one pass and you're out into the wide channels. And it's a slow defensive line out there. It's so good you said that. It's the James O'Connor pass.
Yeah.
That was blitz defence. Both winger and fullback were coming hard in and getting in his vision line, but he ripped the pass 20 metres, slight bridge on it, into Jorgensen's hand. He had a one-on-one. They go in.
Hitting it with speed as well.
But they scored most of their tries in the outside channel. They still punched the middle because you've got to do that to bring them in. Yeah. But they didn't have the fear to play and to find that space, because the Springboks will show it to you all day.
Yep.
There'll be 20 metres out there going, there you go, have a go at getting there. So, righto, we will.
Now, what we do know is that the Wallabies have to win 2 Test matches. And Jack from Wellington, how do you guys feel about the Bledisloe Cup with Australia being a threat? Are you concerned about losing it? Now, with 2 Test matches, they've got to win both of them. And coming to New Zealand and beating the All Blacks, and we know Super Rugby suits our style of play. We know each other very, very well. Are we concerned the fact that if we drop one, the first one, will we drop one? Do you see the advantage? Does it just match up? How hard is it for them to get over that hurdle about beating the All Blacks, Mills? Are you concerned? Jack wants to know.
No.
You're not concerned?
I'm not concerned. I think there's enough there of the All Blacks to say, so Jack, don't be concerned, mate. OK? Trust me.
And Jack, we've got one before that.
I think they're... yeah, exactly. But I think there's enough there from the All Blacks. It's definitely... The Aussies they're a lot better team than they have been for a number of years, but I think there's enough there that we can do and try and adjust to keep the Bledisloe.
There's a magic in terms of the competition around the Rugby Championship. There's a magic in the NPC, but certainly nothing changes when it comes to the Ranfurly Shield, gentlemen. And I mentioned it at the top of the show. Waikato, with all of their experience, they took off one, I'll say veteran, for another, Aaron Cruden, Lima Sopawanga, and it turns into a penalty after a missed drop goal attempt. Lima Sopawanga kicks a goal, and it is returning, because it's been there plenty of times before. Beaver, it's heading back to Hamilton.
Yeah, it's like a magnet, Hamilton.
Oh, yeah.
It's just inevitable.
It's not a magnet for the Shield.
No, but you mentioned the two experienced teams. Who else would have you wanted when you look across NPC? And you lean the situation there. The ball had fallen off and he got told 10 seconds. And, yeah, it was out in front, but it still had to go over. And someone's holding the ball and he walks back, bangs it over. Brilliant.
Great for the Shield, as always, in terms of bringing to light the fact it still means a lot for a lot of those players who come through club rugby and they won't ever play international rugby.
No.
This is one of their most meaningful matches. This is why the Shield's important.
It is important. And if you've ever been involved in a Shield challenge or been lucky enough to have the Shield...
Thanks very much. I've seen it.
It is unique because it's got that tradition, that history about it. And you know that opportunity doesn't come around very often. You know, I think Tasman for ages didn't even get a shot at the Shield. You know,
through circumstance, eh?
Through circumstances,
they're lined up, and then some of them.
And you're right. It's what some players get to play for. That's the most coveted trophy they'll ever get to play for, and it'll mean a lot. You know, like I think Southland got the next. Challenge?
Yes, they have.
Oh,
Southland are on a roll. That's why we brought it up. OK, they're their home games coming up. There's round 5, 4:30 on a Sunday. Waikato hosting Southland. And then we'll worry about what happens after that because it'll be heading down to the deep south.
Yes, boy.
Well, they take on North Harbour at home as well and Northland. So obviously absolutely critical and pivotal. But once again, we've seen this weekend, this is a tough competition to win in. And experience really does count. And that's where I feel a little bit for Auckland. There's not a lot of sympathy sometimes out there for Auckland, but they're inexperienced in some key positions and it's hurting them. When you see the likes of a Waikato, the fact that they've got experience. Northland actually have a lot of super players in their squad mills. So for Auckland, it's been a tough start, but Northland have shown they've got some quality as well.
Oh, gee, have they what? I mean, they're in a bit of a hole, aren't they? I mean, considering the game that they had against Waikato, they lost that and then backed up with another one. And when you've got young players that are inexperienced, it almost becomes a habit. With Northland, they were fighting for this one. You know, their season, you know, to get back on track as well. But for Auckland, the biggest talent pool in New Zealand, this has got to be concerning, people.
Oh, and with Auckland, because of historically, everyone's up for it.
Are you smirking? I think you're quite enjoying the situation.
Oh, look, if a good friend of teammate wasn't their head coach, I probably would be. But
let's put this in perspective. We mentioned as well the fact counties North Harbour and Auckland haven't won a game yet. But I'd say this though: if it's a reflection for me of their club rugby and their club players are getting an opportunity to play, there's only one way for them to learn. The fact, and I think it's a challenge. There's no doubt about it. But you're starting to see some quality come through. And you're getting some upsets as well, the odd one. Bay of Plenty all of a sudden hit a bit of a wall. Looked world beaters the first couple of rounds, and then they've hit some stumbles. So it's not easy for you to stay relevant in this competition. Can't wait for this competition to carry on. So there's plenty more for us to talk about after the break. The Rugby World Cup, it has started in the north, and the Black Ferns have started their defence tomorrow against Spain.
Women's Rugby World Cup 2025! Oh, we're so back! Erica Gerald Santi has the speed for the lock forward, and she scores for the United States! Puts it on the toe, Kilton gets a foot to it, Kilton holds on, stretching and scoring!
Dock again, sliding away, pulse under the sticks. They don't come much sweeter than that. The women of the hour, Fran McGee's done them again. Fran McGee sets the World Cup ablaze. It's a hat-trick, it's a bonus point, it's glorious for the Scots.
Canada, they're going to kick pass across field. Julia Shell, and she's got 6. She cannot stop scoring tries for Canada.
Joanna Grise accelerates into contact and accelerates over the try line.
Yes, the Rugby World Cup is underway and our Black Ferns, they take on Spain overnight, and I'm looking forward to this defence of a World Cup that was so good in New Zealand, but this is a different challenge. There have been some outstanding performances already to start this tournament. We're going to go to live to York now with our reporter on the ground who's there for the whole tour. What a fantastic opportunity for Taylor Curtis and Taylor. Sunderland, the Stadium of Light, 42,000 people. What was that opening ceremony like?
Oh, it was absolutely mad. Like, packed house. There were fans with all merchandise, cowboy hats for some of the players that own their own podcast. And then you've got some shirts that had players' faces all over them, and they were gifted to the players afterwards that made the time to go around and see all the fans there. It was impressive. And another element that was added to it, it was so loud. Every time there was a scrum, there was a song sung. Every time there was a half break, everyone roared, and any time that a player was warming up towards the end of the line there, everyone was getting amongst it. It was amazing to see.
Taylor, is there a sense that this tournament is taking centre stage now that it has kicked off, the fact there's been so much build-up towards it? Has there been a lot of engagement in terms of fans and the media and everything you'd like to see around a world tournament?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was kind of at the start, it was like you're trying to compete with the EPL that had just kicked off in the same week. And you've got one of the biggest races here in England at the moment happening this week, and it's just finished last night. So, I mean, there's a lot that happens in these places here in England that they're lucky to, you know, go along and see. But we've already heard that the Black Ferns and Spain game, they've sold, it's nearly sold out already. So it's awesome to see. And then people managed to go along to the Australian and Samoa game, and they were competing with Manchester, the EPL that was on, so it was great to see some numbers show up.
I have to ask you, look, England are going in as heavy favourites. They're under serious pressure in regards to what they need to do to win this competition. John Mitchell has tried to play that down, but how impressive were they in their first game?
Yeah, they were. Like, I mean, in the first 20 minutes, they did look a little clunky in terms of they were trying to like skip ball real early, especially in the middle of the field. But then after that, they went into the sheds, they regathered themselves, and then put 5 tries in the space of that third quarter of the game. So they, you know, they ironed those mistakes out. The nerves had settled in, and they were so impressive to see. Ali Kildan, the player of the match. I mean, I'm a massive fangirl. I've seen her in action, and then once interviewing her, she's a lot smaller than she looks on the field, but she's so good with ball in hand.
They wanted to make a statement. They have done that. Now the Black Ferns get their opportunity against Spain. In terms of their side, there was a few surprise selections, but some players who clearly needed to get some time. But unfortunately, they've lost one of their halfbacks going into this first game, Maya Joseph. What's that mean for the rest of the team, and how long do you think she might be out?
Yeah, it's just she's pulled a hammy, just like a hamstring, just at training, and they've brought in Eddie Tanahor straight into the starting line-out, and she wasn't originally named at all. So they haven't gone with Reece Podilane that was on the bench and moved her on. So they've obviously got a plan with the bench impact that they want to use. And like you said, those players that are named, I wouldn't see them in a full starting 15. But the thing about World Cups, it's not just a starting 15, it's the whole 23 to the 33 women's squad that takes it. So they need game time under their belt. So anything that gets thrown them way, which is this one, very early, losing Maya Joseph. But luckily, hopefully, she's not too far away from actually getting a debut herself.
Taylor, just lastly, I know Ruby Tui is joining the broadcast overnight. I'm giving you the personal responsibility to keep her under control. Can you handle that?
No, I mean, I can't make promises. I mean, we go way back, so I don't think it's a good duo, actually.
You're going to have some great fun. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to chatting more as this tournament goes on. Enjoy yourself.
Thanks, Jeff.
Really important when you're kicking off any tournament. We've been there. The fact the first game, you want to set a standard and you want to get some of the nerves out. Nice way to start having Spain. The fact that if you don't play as well early on, you'll be able to work your way into the game.
Yeah, you can. Like, you know you're supposed to win. You know that if you go out and you execute, then things should fall into place quite nicely and get the right result. What you don't want to do is get on struggle street.
Yeah.
Because then you go, OK, we've got our second pool game, lots of questions, a few players not feeling so confident. So it's really key, even though it's not the strongest side that they're going to come up against, to put in Mills a really good first up. Clean performance is the word I'd use.
Yeah, clean. I still wouldn't mind. You still expect a little bit of clunkiness that Taylor was mentioning, but not overall. The whole game being sort of really clunky. But also, it's your chance now to rip into it, isn't it? It's been a lot of hype around the tournament. You've seen other teams go about it, and let's be honest, these next couple of games is really about shaping what it looks like for the quarterfinals. The first team gets their opportunity, but then obviously they might make bigger changes for the next one, and the competitiveness within the environment to try and win them back that trophy.
Yeah, and you'd imagine the first 10-15 minutes is going to be full of excitement. They've sat back and watched every other team play Goldie, so you'd imagine there might be a few mistakes early as they probably try to enforce it. But yeah, wonderful, I guess, playing Spain, good opportunity just to ease into it.
Yeah, I think they'll be dominant and they'll play well, and they need to play well. What's coming up this weekend? Well, we get a weekend off the Rugby Championship, and that's 13 days away. The All Blacks taking on the Springboks with a lot of coverage around that. I know we're going to do a Thursday night show in terms of building up for it. The anticipation. Next weekend, though, we're coming to you after a Ranfurly Shield Challenge. And it's Waikato taking on Southland. So
Defence.
we'll be hitting the breakdown. It's a defence.
Yeah, it's not challenge.
It's a challenge. That's what it is. Hey, we've had a question, the fact that you get a lot of love on this show. I'm not sure if this is love or not. Why are you not having a run beaver in the Heartland competition? You looked in fine form for the Classics the other week. You do know it's edited. Everything's edited for this show. We cut that up. That took us forever.
Well, that's a wonderful, accurate message. I just haven't had a contract offer yet from anyone.
Oh, so you're saying you're available?
Oh, if the right offer comes through, who knows? Yeah.
You're saying you're available?
Oh, I love the Heartland Championship game.
This is going to be a difficult week for the All Blacks as they come home, Mills. The fact that on the back of that, knowing what's coming up. This is I suppose, if you talk about pressure, this is what the cook is about.
How good is it for the TRC?
Yeah.
Everyone is on edge. You know, it's not just the All Blacks, the Springboks are too. There's not one team that you'd have to say that's coming into the next round having too much confidence.
So I'm going to say, after the performances of the Springboks and the All Blacks, more or less comfortable in 13 days?
More.
More comfortable than you were this morning?
Yeah.
OK, for you?
Yeah, very comfortable.
No doubts in your mind?
No, well, I think you couple it with the fact that the opposition coming aren't exactly flying.
There you go.
We needed something from him. We needed something from him on the show.
There it goes.
Not flying.
You can't sit on the fence just now in terms of you're the up guy for us. Before the show, you said you were happy.
I am happy. I think we will respond. We've got time now, and they're not big things. They're just our kicking strategy, right?
Just our kicking strategy. Selection, tactics, discipline, everything you'd like to see. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for sending your questions. Can't wait to do it all again in 7 days' time. Mā te wā.
For 31 years, Eden Park's been a graveyard for rugby nations. A fortress built on fear. Visitors haunted by history.
And the All Blacks have prevailed.
The All Blacks driven to keep the streak alive. Desperate not to be the ones to lose it. The Springboks haven't won there since 1937. They've battered at the door, but they've never been able to kick it in.
Memorable in many ways at Eden Park.
But they say records are meant to be broken. In 13 days, we find out if anything truly lasts forever.